Greetings, everyone. This is Leon with Pride in Providence, and today I have a special guest in my studio. We have State Representative Marica-Raglin. No, Marica-Raglin Vassell.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got that part right.
Perfect.
Okay. So, for like I always say, for the 5 or 6 people who watch my show and maybe who don't know who you are, please tell us a little bit about yourself, what district you're from.
Okay, yeah.
Let's start off with the district that you're from.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I don't take it for granted, and I don't take you for granted. So I really appreciate you inviting me to be here.
Oh, I appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. As you said, I'm State Representative Marica-Raglin Vassell from House District 5 in Providence.
Okay.
And that's Wanscock, Charles, and Elmhurst areas.
Okay.
I'm a proud Providence public school teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
And E-cubed.
Right.
We're right on Branch Avenue.
Yes.
And so it's what I do, but I'm also a mom.
Right.
I'm a mother, a grandmother, a caregiver for my 92-year-old mom, and a fighter.
Yes.
And an advocate. And so I play all those roles, and I want to say that I'm so grateful to be doing them every day.
As I'm glad to say, I know you as a educator, as a friend.
Yes.
We have a lot of connections. They say Rhode Island is 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
We have 3. I've had the pleasure of my oldest stepdaughter. I don't think she was necessarily in your class.
No.
But you did have interactions with Evelyn Kinney.
I did.
She had one of your colleagues, Mr. Majors.
Oh, yeah.
And our connection with him is he's one of my customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And hello, Mr. Majors, and hello, Miss Brooks. I want some of those muffins.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I haven't had any yet.
Oh, my gosh. She put some on Facebook. I told her I would eat. I told her I would cut their grass if she made me some.
Every time she puts it up, I say, I want some of those. So, yes.
Drive over and get some, right? So, that's another connection. But, again, being that you're from E-cubed, and I, had those interactions there. You saw my wife and I. We were there quite a bit.
Yes.
So, and then, like you said, you being an advocate, going through the list, being a state representative, a teacher, a mom, a caregiver. How do you find the strength to be 6 people all in one?
Well, I can tell you the same way that you run this wonderful program, and all your viewers get to see you, but you're not the only person who make this possible.
This is true.
You also have producer, and you have camera people, wonderful, that I got to meet earlier. And so it's the same thing with me. I do not do this alone. I could not do this alone. I'll tell you what drives me. What drives me the most is peace, justice, and equality. I've turned all the passion, all the pain, all from gun violence and from poverty. I have turned that into passion, and the passion for service, the passion for work. But to your question, I don't do it alone. I do it with all the people that I get to stand on their shoulders. They're my constituents. They're my neighbors. They're the people that send me messages all the time and say, thank you for what you're doing. They're my fellow legislators. And so I may be out there in the spotlight, but I don't do it on my own. My sons, my husband, and all the people that support me.
Something I've noticed, and I hear about it, they say again in Rhode Island, is the accessibility that we have to our legislators, which is rare. And especially if you have a good rapport. I'm fortunate, like I said, to have know you through personal interactions as well as being able to conversate with you about legislative issues. That being said, you're working on a couple of legislative issues. One of them is the lunch shaming program. Tell me a little bit more about that in my audience, if you could.
Well, thank you for that question. It's a great one. I believe that food is a basic human right.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that everyone is entitled to food. As an educator, as a teacher, I also know that if you're hungry, hungry children cannot learn. I also know that for many students, not just in Providence, because Providence feed all its children.
Right.
But for other districts, school districts that did not, or have not, I should say, end the horrible practice of lunch shaming, we must do that this year. What that does is for every child who shows up in the school cafeteria is entitled to a hot, nutritious meal. They should never get an alternative sandwich. It's not morally right. It's just the wrong thing to do. And so what my bill is asking for is that we end lunch shaming in the state of Rhode Island once and for all.
Yes, ma'am.
Every child who shows up in that school cafeteria is entitled to a hot meal. No questions asked.
Can you believe, I've heard and read that there are some school districts that are going after parents, threatening them with child protective act, things of that nature to get them to, pay their bill. And it's like, how ludicrous of an idea is that to even think of that?
So this is where the Warwick was in the news, and in Cranston was in the news as well, whereby if student families owe lunch debt, they're collecting agencies or collection agencies that are going after those families. That is so wrong. It's so immoral. It's not what we do. And I want to say this clearly, that if we're serious about increasing the outcomes for our children, social, academic, right, behavioral outcomes, and to grow this economy, we better start feeding kids.
Right.
Because listen, they won't learn. They can't learn if they're hungry.
Right.
And so that's why it's important.
If you're thinking about food, you're not thinking about anything else, and thus your behavior patterns are going to change because
we can't either, right?
Exactly. And as a teacher,
right.
you as a teacher,
Yes.
you recognize that because you have children, and like you said, being a caregiver,
absolutely,
things like that. And like you said, the other connection is, when I was growing up, my mother was a teacher,
right.
in Compton.
Yes, you
during
said
the, during the 80s, during the,
you said
the NWA era,
right.
things like that. So, and she was a single mom.
Right.
So, she was going from I was going through the maturation of junior high school to high school while she was teaching, and also being a latchkey kid.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I would see her, there'd be
so
nights where.
Yeah,
I know those struggles, the nights where she'd have to come home, cook dinner, do lesson plans, and then deal with me as a child.
Right.
And, there would be nights I was like, Mom, can you help me with my homework? And she would say, listen, do you know how many other
hard.
and it's like, how, it's like.
And for some families also, they're working multiple jobs to make ends meet.
Right. 2 or 3 jobs.
2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. So we've got to do better by our kids. I think it's easy for us to say, oh my God, we love our children and we want the best for them. But that's actually passive.
Right.
Stepping up to the plate, passing legislation to support children and families takes moral courage. And I think we can do that.
How do you encourage parents, or get involved or advocate? You and myself, we're both advocates, so we know the struggle. We know how to get out there. Yeah. How do we take that energy and then transform it to other people and other parents? What
I say to parents is what I did when my guys were in school, public school. They all went through Providence. Is I always, at the beginning of the school year, I gave the teachers my cell number, and I asked for the school's number or the teacher's cell number, and I had an open channel of communication. And sometimes I wasn't always able to go to the PTOs, but let me tell you, I'm calling on the phone.
Right.
So for parents who are not able, if you can just have that open communication where you're calling teachers. And one thing that I did when my guys were younger and in school, I held them accountable for their work, their school work. And I would say to the boys and to my stepdaughter, listen, I am going to hold your teachers accountable.
Right.
for them to teach you and to do what they need to do.
Right.
But I am also holding you accountable.
Right.
To do your homework
It's your
and
homework,
to show
right,
up and to be respectful and to do all the things that matter to your success. So I think it's accountability on both ends. But I cannot overemphasize that families are working 2 jobs and 3 jobs, and they're juggling so many balls, and it's hard.
Right.
And so that is why I have also introduced a $15 living wage.
Okay. Tell me more about that legislation, if you could.
And it's what Massachusetts have done. It's what so many other states all around this New England region have done. It's a $15 living wage. And let me be honest with you, that is not even enough. And we can't even get there. And that is so wrong. It is so wrong. It is morally wrong for families to be working, juggling 2, 3 jobs, and at the end, they can't pay their rent, they can't buy medicine, they can't pay overhead.
Right.
Something is wrong with that picture. And so what I've been saying, if we want, we need to be able to connect the dots. And if we want to see the trajectory of our children's lives improving, then I think it's important for us to support families.
Right.
Because children, they're not a unit all by themselves. It's children, it's their moms, their dads, their grandparents. So we've got to do, as a state, we've got to support our families so they, in turn, can support their children. That's the way we do it.
And you had mentioned something earlier about your inbox, how you're getting daily messages and encouragement from your constituents and things like that. How do you use that energy to fuel you and keep you going and to keep that smile on your face every day? Because I'm sure everybody, she's always smiling.
I tell you, I am so passionate about the issue of justice and equity and making sure that people have opportunities. I was that kid that I could have been a statistic, right? Okay. But I had people that really supported me and encouraged me. And so I take a lot of energy from the people that get in touch with me every single day. Through email, my constituents, they're supporting me, they're emailing me, they're calling me, they're texting me, they're Facebooking me. Right. And also just from other people all across the state. There are some people that literally have called me or texted me or emailed me and said, "Are you my rep?" I'm like, well, I'm a representative in Rhode Island, but I'm not actually your rep. But is there anything that I can do to help? Okay. Because I think we serve the people. I think that's what we're elected to do. Right. And we need to do that. But I take so much inspiration from people all around me, people like you, who you roll up your sleeves, you do the best job that you can do for your family, and you do it every single day. So I'm not unique. Okay. We have mothers and fathers doing the hard work of supporting their children and their families. And I think that's why it's so important that legislators are out there listening and making those connections and connecting the dots so that we can support families.
And speaking to connecting the dots with you being a teacher, you know, and then transforming that energy, and it's like I can remember when I was in high school, my principal, always getting on the microphone and saying, that positive message, how he enjoyed seeing our smiling faces, how they protrude, and through the building, and you were always, it's like how, the children that you touch and the kids that you see, and it's like, how do you give each individual child that attention, but yet and still, you're making sure that you're touching everyone, that's, again, where do you find that energy?
Life is hard, right? Yeah. Life is hard. And we all are carrying heavy loads, some heavier than others. And just a smile, just asking someone, how are you? Right. And waiting for them to answer could be all it takes to change that person's day. Right. And what I try to do, I say, you know what? I am going to use kind words because words have consequences. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be thoughtful. And sometimes I'll fall off the wagon, right?
Well, yeah, you're human.
Because we all, right?
Right.
But I try to really think about my interactions with people. And I owe that to my mom and my dad, who really instilled in us, number one, service. Number two, the love of people. We lived in a 2-room house. I'm not talking about a 2-bedroom house with the living and dining and all that. I'm talking about 2 rooms. And my dad would just bring random people home. And we had only a full-size bed for the 9 of us. So people slept on our floor and they stayed in our house as long as they wanted to, right? So we are from service, you know, and giving back. And what I try to do is to create a legacy, the same kind of legacy that my dad created when he passed away, when he was younger than I am. And so I would be remiss, I would dishonor him and my mom and my ancestors who traveled from the coast of Ghana to the Americas if I did not commit to service and commit into addressing the needs of people that many consider not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. So my job every single day is to roll up my sleeve and to say, what can I do? How can I be helpful? How can I share God's love?
Right, yes. Yeah,
right, because you have to practice it. And so that's what I do every day.
It's interesting because it's like, you know, listening to what you're saying, and I interpret it as you know, something my wife and we try to teach our children is pay it forward. Don't, you know, do what you can without expectations. And something I always say is, instead of asking what your community can do for you, ask what you can do for you. You know, paraphrasing a great leader of ours, you know, ask what your community, ask what you can do for your community instead of asking what your community can do for you. You know, and you know, it's a great thing. You know, like I said, your advocacy. I've seen other representatives like you know, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Correa.
Absolutely.
You know,
we have great people.
You are great people here in Providence that are always doing their part. And you know, I always enjoy bringing those people on and letting other people know, because, you know, like you say, there's a human side to what you're doing, and not everybody gets to see that.
Oh my God!
You know, and you know, talking to other people, you know, it's like, you know, you mentioned our marshal. Oh, do you know what Miss Vassell done here? Miss Vassell this, Miss Vassell that. You know, and it's like, okay, well, I got to talk to this Miss Vassell.
Oh my God, she is. This work is really important to me. Everything that I do, it comes from a place of deep love and deep gratitude. I am sitting here with you, Leon, because of the gift of life that was afforded to me 23 years ago when I had my sons. I was not supposed to be here. After I delivered the boy, I had pre-eclampsia, which is something that a lot of black mothers have. And so to be able every day to see my sons graduate high school, you know, to be able to see them graduate from college, to be able to see and to hold little Elias and to look in his eyes, because I was not even supposed to see that. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm fighting tooth and nails for access to doulas.
Tell us about that.
And so the governor is included doula services through Medicaid in our budget, whereby women who are pregnant and post-pregnancy have access to some not medical trained person, but someone who is a peer who can support them throughout their pregnancy and after pregnancy. Because we have realized that the data, CDC data shows that black women, because of a lot of issues, but one, racism, cultural insensitivity in the healthcare system, poverty, we are dying 3 to 4 times more than our white peers, right? And so when a doula is included in that relationship with the mom-to-be, we have seen the mortality rates go down. But we have also seen the morbidity rate go down. And so for me to be here and to just look in my grandson's eyes and to hear his laughter, I mean, every time I see Elias, I'm like, oh my God, I could just quit my job and just watch him every day, you know? But truly, my fight for doulas and my fight for reproductive justice, doulas, right, is because of that gift that was given to me, that I can be here sitting with you today and to talk about this.
That's definitely a blessing. And what I like to do, you know, in my last few minutes of my show, is that's camera 1 there. Okay, I'm going to allow you to take up the last few minutes of my show to tell my audience whatever it is that you want to say. And that being said, I want to start off with, okay, how long have you been a state senator?
I have been a state representative for since I was elected in 2016. And that was the first time I ran for office. I ran because I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought that House District 5 needed full and complete representation and someone that was going to take their voices and their concerns to the State House. And so I want to finish this segment by saying thank you to all of my neighbors who have elected me. I do